In this first video, I'm going to talk about mammon, money, right? So it's something that I struggled with, and what I mean by that is, okay, so initially after I graduated, I read Robert Kiyosaki's book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it blew my mind because it was just such a new idea to me. In Asia, it is expected and desired for us to study hard, get a good job, etc., and of course earn good money after that. So maybe also being Chinese, there is some kind of link towards status as well, and the ability to generate income. So although it is not explicitly stated, so that's one, the ability to generate income, and also the kind of occupation. So it's usually, the few, it's always a doctor, an engineer, and lawyer. And then the so-called secondary occupations that are respectable would be a teacher, although not as reputable or inspiring, so to speak. So anyway, so I was on my path to be a practicing lawyer, and I think my journey has been pretty easy. In terms of, I tend to have things easy because I studied hard, but not that hard, because I tend to get things. I tend to understand things easily, and that actually contributed to the issue of pride that I didn't know I had during that time. So anyway, after I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, I'm saying, I want to do my own thing, right? And this decision came in the midst of a setback in terms of my legal career, So I decided to do that, and I thought it was an intelligent thing to do because it was logical, right? I don't want to be someone who's exchanging time for money. I should look further ahead. What happens when I'm 40, and then that's where people get laid off. So I should start and do my own thing. And this idea of passive income is great, And it was also during this time when I became a Christian. That was in 2003. So at that point of time, I was about 23, 24. And so I've always been quite aware of this, of the model of making money and all that. Yet at the same time, when I got myself into finance and insurance, this idea of selling kind of offended me intellectually, and more like I don't like to sell that way, like hit the target, because I've always been like a student, like a learner. So it was something that I felt I needed to do, and but it didn't really resonate with me. So anyway, and also, so it was like that. And also at that point of time, because I was a new Christian, I was growing in the Lord, and then I knew about this whole idea about we don't serve mammon. Yet at the same time, I believe in the abundant blessings that God has given me through the cross. That was what we were taught. Jesus paid such a great price for us on the cross in order to purchase these blessings that are for us. And these blessings are not just spiritual, it is also material. And God has came to give us life, and life more abundantly. And abundant life starts now, So what is abundant life, right? So although they were careful to say or careful to teach that abundant life is also material blessings, it is also intangibles like health, prosperity, happiness, reconciliation. So everything, is bound up in the cross. So of course that kind of helped me, like in selling and in proclaiming, the blessings and stuff like that. So anyway, that was more than 15 years ago, and I really believe that until really still up to recently, and then of course about 1 year ago, or about, no, sorry, it was about 4 to 5 years ago in 2012, right? I started to think about the concept of grace. There was this idea about tithing, and they like to, of course, quote Malachi 3, where it said, "Tithe, and the windows of heaven will be open, and God will pour such abundant blessings on us." And I've been tithing at that point of time for 12 years, or 10, no, sorry, about 10 to 12 years, very, very consistently. But I didn't see the blessings that my friends enjoy. I didn't have the blessings in terms of family, reconciliation, finding a life partner, etc., that I see my peers had. And at that point of time, I loved the Lord. I was serving in church very willingly, very happily, but of course I was affected by what I perceived I didn't have when I compared with other people. And of course I was also tithing, and and I quoted the scripture back to the Lord and said, you said this, you said that, and it didn't happen. I mean, I quoted that in my heart. I didn't really challenge God that way, but I was feeling quite disappointed. So I left church about 2012. When I said leave, I stepped down from ministry. But once I stepped down from ministry, I wasn't so active anymore. I didn't go for care group anymore. So at that point of time, during my active period, I was like in church or church related activities about twice a week, you see, and it was really about 4 hours or so each time. And so in 2012, when I stepped down from ministry, I no longer go for care group. I was a Sunday Christian. It was also during that time I started exploring the New Age for about a year, and then I stopped doing that after I made some mistakes. And then I came to the realization, about 2013, 2014, that even though I said I was under grace, I was in a transactional relationship, because I said, Lord, I tithe, and where's this and where's that, and what you said this and you said that, and I did this and I did that. So I realized that it is, I should worship the Lord because He is God and He has given me Jesus, and it's not about the blessings, right? So it was during that time where I started to entangle this idea. I started to, in the back of my mind, it was the blessings are not, I started to have this idea about, okay, let me rephrase it. I started to look inside myself and question my expectations, and my expectations were shaped by the teachings from the pulpit, and how I perceived the teachings from the pulpit, because the pastor can be preaching something, but my flesh and my heart is deceptive, and it takes what I have heard and interprets the way that I want to hear it, right? We see the word through a certain lens, and it is only a difference of how aware we are of the lens we are wearing, how colored we are in terms of the reality, in inverted commas, we perceive, right? So anyway, I started to understand that this idea about blessings and money, and how I had lived my life, even though I said that, I say that no, we don't serve mammon, and pursue God and His righteousness only, and all these things shall be added to me. Even though I said that, but then my actions do not convey that. So fast forward to, this year is 2020. I have during this time I have friends who are saying, how much money they're earning in, Christian friends, how much money they're earning in stocks and shares, in this and that, and I'm still kind of bound by the teaching that there's nothing wrong with money. You just don't worship money, because Abraham was rich, David was rich, etc., right? And if I am sensitive to this issue of money, then I am the one who's sensitive to it, right? It's not about my friends, so I don't want to talk about them. I want to look at myself. Why am I because my thoughts will be like, but isn't that worshipping mammon? And I think to a certain extent, I am not wrong. But then I need to look into myself. Why am I sensitive to it? Is my sensitive and abhorrence to it wrong? How am I going to reconcile it to me doing a business? So this is the a bit of dilemma that I'm going through. On one hand, of course I want to be prosperous so that I do not have any worries about my day-to-day, so that I'm able to pay my bills, so that I'm able to live comfortably. I don't want to be indebted to the banks because I'm still clearing credit card debt, and wouldn't it be great if I have lots of money and so I don't have to think about that. But I think this journey that the Lord has brought me through is still an ongoing journey in terms of money. Because even in the prosperity teaching side, I believe, how Satan deceives, right? It's always a mixture of truth and lies. So sometimes it's easier just to disregard the truth within the lies and just stick very closely to the teachings of the church, the scriptures as interpreted by the church fathers, and not to try to rationalize and make sense of it, because who am I to make sense? I don't even trust my flesh. I question it, and I think that's the way that I should approach life, So, and yet the word talks about trusting ourselves, believing in ourselves, looking into our hearts, and also there's an element of truth in that. But am I wise enough to entangle what is truth and what is a lie? Because everything is so muddled, right? So all I can do is to examine my heart regularly and question my own motives, and at least be settled in my own conscience about, am I doing it for money? Because even now, just this morning when I'm looking at the program and the plans that I'm making in terms of my business, in terms of my education, one of the first things I wrote down was, how much am I going to charge for it? And because I have to cover my costs and I have to look at my income, and I ask myself, is it bad to look at that way? And I need to settle within myself that it's okay to look at the money. It's okay to, look at that first even. And why am I feeling bad about it? Yeah, because I have hang-ups about money. So I'm not going to talk about what I see my friends doing, because I think it's more an issue of how I perceive it rather than what they're doing. And yet at the same time, I need to let God teach me through their experiences as well. Because I think the great thing is there's so much material around in the world in what people are doing, and the Lord is with me, and He shows me certain things, right? But He shows it to me. He doesn't show it to me in order for me to tell others what to do. Yeah, I think that is something that I need to learn, and not to wag my finger and say this is what should be done, but to apply every lesson to what I see in my life, and be able to live in more wisdom and holiness. And I do see how far short I fall, especially during this time, and it is quite terrible to see to see how far short I fell, how far short I fall of the plans that God has for me. And I do understand now why some of the prayers in the Orthodox faith, Christian tradition, keeps talking about, us being a sinner and praying for God's mercy on me, because I do really need His mercy when I see when I see my life, right? So anyway, yeah, this is my long sharing. It was supposed to be 5 minutes, but I don't know why I keep ending up talking. But I think this is helping me. This is helping me, and I hope maybe in whatever way it relates to you, it may help you in your life too. So thanks for hearing me out, and I'll see you in the next video.